this recording session was a bit on the long side. Given the fact that it looked over 40 minutes long at first glance, it kind of forced me to split this up in a bit of an awkward point. Sorry in advance that this clip is going to have an abrupt ending outside of a save point. Since I somehow doubt there's going to be anything underwater, at least anything we can do anything about at the moment, let's look for some other way to make progress. I don't believe we know what breaks this Radion stuff. Why didn't the game just outright tell us to use missiles? It's not like I'm gonna remember that Radion is the missile-specific material if we see that again later on. Right, now to just find a way to that door directly above the terminal. Well, we've got a good number of floating platforms, but unfortunately Samus can't jump that high in this game. And even if she could jump pretty close, it's not like she has the ledge grab around here. Kind of amazing the number of things I'm starting to miss now that we've gone from 2D to 3D. Ah, this works too. Wonder why I didn't notice it sooner. Right! Another energy-based creature that we don't have the means to hurt just yet. Wonder how long it'll take for us to find whatever it is that'll let us harm the damn thing. As a side note, that is literally the most alien thing we've seen in this franchise so far, a creature made entirely of energy. I'm sure if Samus had that Metroid DNA in her at this point in the timeline, she could just absorb these bastards with little trouble. But then she'd also have to worry about freezing to death up here. By dorsal, do they mean the upper part or the back? Last time I checked, the word can kind of mean both. Ah, so it means back here. Good to know. I'm way too used to seeing a dorsal referring to fish of some kind. Right. So they have freezing breath from the front, even more reason to keep moving and shoot them in the rear. And it seems our first encounter, we have to deal with two of them at the same time. Well, at least it doesn't take much to break that rear shell. Yeah, that was a bit less intimidating than it looked like at the start. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised since two showing up at once means they're gonna be a recurring enemy. Though the obvious question is, if those are the babies, then where's the mummy? Is that gonna be the next big boss we're gonna have to deal with? Or will we go back to some other boss back at the lava area? Both seem just as likely at the moment. Okay, I certainly hear something nearby, though I don't see it. The map certainly claims there's a spot above us, but I can't even begin to imagine how we'd be able to get up there, even if we got the jump upgrade I know in this game. Doesn't look like there's anything I missed down there. Huh. That looks like something made of cloth. Why does it look like it's swaying in the wind if the snow isn't reacting to any wind? Right. Of course there's going to be variants of various creatures depending on the environment. That was certainly the case in a lot of the 2D games, and much like the 2D games, the palette swap doesn't really seem to make them any more dangerous, just gives them an aesthetic that matches the surroundings. I can't really call that laziness, though, partly because of the 2D games, and partly because we've been seeing a decent number of distinct creatures. And of course, the fact that this franchise's first attempt of doing things three-dimensional is this game. Mario made the leap to 3D in 1996 on the N64. Samus took that step in 2002 for the GameCube. So, yeah, they took a bit more time to think about it. Really feels like those patches of brighter blue should be scannable. We've certainly been able to scan quite a bit in this game, that's for sure. Wonder how long it's going to be before we finally get to destroy those energy creatures. Not that they're an especially big threat to us, just that I don't like being completely incapable of hurting hostiles, especially commonly recurring ones. Guess it's time for some more reading. It's certainly a pleasure to finally be in some Chozo ruins with more than just the occasional pictogram on the side, and actually learn what they were writing, even if they were annoyingly cryptic. Why is it that everything that resides in darkness always seems to get stronger and stronger? Especially in a sci-fi setting, that kind of feels off to me. Still, it's not like Metroid is trying to be like Star Trek or The Expanse. It's more focused on the fantasy of being in outer space than trying to make things seem plausible in terms of technology and the creatures we run into. Still, they're definitely scared of something. I wish I could feel scared about it too, but we've seen far too many scary things over the years for an apocalyptic log to make me all that wary of it. Especially when said log doesn't really say anything specific enough to paint a picture of what we're dealing with. All we know for sure is that something dropped from the sky, the Chozo tried to seal it up, and it somehow made them lose their minds. That could mean anything from some space locust like the Flood from Halo to an Eldritch porn magazine. The only way we're gonna learn what it is when we actually open the lock they put in place to fight whatever is down there. Considering how this series generally goes, I somehow doubt whatever we're gonna find at that point is gonna be especially simple and easy, but all we can do at this point is just keep finding upgrades and deal with whatever threats happen to come in our way as we explore the planet, as usual. We're certainly taking those Shigoth things down at a faster pace than I was expecting. Does this still count as the early game? We are 7 parts in, after all. I'd ask why those platforms can just keep on floating indefinitely, but again, it's something that wasn't much of an issue for us in the 2D games. Okay, based on the screen shaking, it's probably a good thing I just rushed through those platforms there. And here we have the 3D Metroid's answer to the speed booster from the 2D games. I'm not even sure why, but I certainly enjoyed the speed booster a hell of a lot more in the 3D games than I ever could have in the 2D. You hold a button for a few seconds, let go, and there, you're boosted. You use it to gain momentum while in ball form. You don't need to build up momentum for it to activate while you're on foot, like the 2D games. Right, may as well fast forward a bit since we're just backtracking again. So I seem to be taking quite a bit more damage going this way than when we were entering the place. Can't help noticing this game is a lot less generous with healing items than the 2D ones. Probably because in the 2D games, enemies generally had to leave something behind after they died, while here, they can just drop dead with nothing for us to grab afterwards at all. Huh. Odd moment for a cutscene. Well, that's certainly a menacing shadow. Don't worry, Ridley, we haven't forgotten about you, but our next fight isn't until a long ways off in the future. For now, time to go back to the superheated underground. I'll figure out where to go after that once we get there. Speaking of things that were somehow more acceptable in the 2D games, the way the environment can change so drastically after a quick loading screen. Wonder if we're gonna get the upgrade to let us jump without having to use a bomb in this game. It's been long enough that I don't fully remember all the upgrades we get in this one. Okay, definitely embarrassing, but again, I've fallen in environmental hazards so often in this franchise, it's practically a running gag. Anyone else think the music sped up here sounds pretty cheerful? Well, this looks like ground we haven't explored just yet. Back to normal speed, at least for a while. Flamethrowers above to drive us into the magma below. Well, that's certainly vicious. And, of course, the only way to kill those things is to make them eat bombs. At least that fire serpent popped up just outside of his own flamethrower range. I'll take that small mercy. Huh. Why did it take so long for that health item to spawn from the remains of that guy? And why am I oddly disappointed we didn't get hurt when our own charge beam bounced right back at us? Bit troublesome, but nothing actually all that dangerous considering how much health we have left right now. Definitely quite the switch from the sheer amount of tension I had to deal with while playing Fusion and Dread, and I don't really know if that's a good or bad thing. is certainly a precarious path here. Not that falling would be instant death, just more than a little annoying. Right. I believe this chamber has been pretty thoroughly explored. Time to get moving. Wonder why I just find those flamethrowers funny in a place with so much lava underneath us. Well, hello there! Guess I'd better deal with you before moving on in here. Well, at least that serpent did some damage. Not much, but at least it was better than what the previous serpent managed to do. And I should not feel so pleased that an enemy managed to scratch us. And yet another elevator. Before checking that, let's see what else is down here for now. Right, so we're completely incapable of exploring this room much without whatever lets us cling to those striped walls. Guess we're going up the elevator for now. We've got a rainy area, a snowy area, and a fire area so far. So, what's next for us, or are we going back to one of the earlier ones? Wasn't the Talon overworld where we parked our ship? And why is it that this game seems to do a better job of making the names of the sectors memorable to me, while the 2D games came up with names that I frequently would forget the instant I turned off the map? Well, those beetles don't stand too much of a chance, but then I suppose they aren't really meant to. Definitely feels like we can generally deal with more enemies at once than the 2D games, but the very nature of this game makes those weaker things just so easy to contend with. Well, easy so long as your trigger finger holds out. That's actually one of the reasons I didn't record this game or Metroid Prime 2 with the emulated Wii. Pressing a button on a controller somehow stings less than rapid-fire clicking of a mouse for me. I know, that's my fault, not the fault of the people who designed Metroid Prime Trilogy for the explicit Wii controller instead of my keyboard and mouse. It still felt worth saying, though. Anyway, this clip certainly feels like it's a healthy enough length. Hope nobody minds the abrupt stopping point that's coming soon. I just took way too long to find a save point in this recording session. Right. Of course we have even more plants that want us dead. The acidic grass, exploding mushrooms, and boss flower weren't bad enough. I probably should have picked a point where we wouldn't have heard that acid burn sound effect so long when we scanned the damn thing.